Hey guys, Tyler2K here. We're going to go ahead and talk about Victor Chevalier's changes in Season 2. Season 2 obviously just came out, and we are covering the main characters myself. That way I have the most experience, and I can give you the most accurate information, sort of thing. That being said, it's still new, so if I misread something or misinterpret something, please correct me with a time code to the mistake. This one will be shorter because most of the changes are buffs and or really easy to explain. The one thing of note is that of the characters we play, Victor is definitely the one who's like the most stance happy now. He's not as crazy as a character like Xiaoyu, but obviously Namco is like, you know what we want to do? Let's go ahead and make Victor dance between stances constantly. And luckily, they gave him frame data to supplement that kind of playstyle. So basically, as I'm just talking about, Season 1, focus on his stances, Perfumer and the Eye stance. Perfumer can now be entered via a couple new inputs. The main one is 112, which is his 10 frame option. They did nerf the damage, but now it can transition stance, so +3 on normal hit, and then +7 if we enter into EI stance by tapping forward. Also, kind of similar situation, we have Sheer Shine, +0, Perfumer entrance, we're into +6. We also have a few other ones like EI 1-1, up forward 1-1, and as well as what we have here, Perfumer 3+4. Yeah, we can transition into EI stance by tapping 3+4. I haven't personally found a great way to use EI entrance. The one thing of note is like during this transition though, I'm not seeing invulnerability on the screen. In my experience when he transitions, he's actually invul or can't be hit for a few frames. So that's something that I can't prove to you, but in my testing, the transition to EI stance cannot be hit at certain frame points, I should say. Your mileage may vary, sort of thing, but keep that in mind. He has a brand new move, as mentioned, running 1+2. That allows us to transition to EI stance from a low option. To basically supplement his running 2 option, we have a running 1+2, +4, and then obviously everyone's favorite, running 2 into EI is +5. So similar idea. The frame breakpoint, there really is no big difference. The only kind of breakpoint difference with an option like running 1+2 is that EI down 1+2 when then hit on frame 20 and or 16, I should say, if they do a heat burst to challenge you. So that is a problem that unfortunately, I made a video about that top right corner. Victor problems going into Season 2 that were not addressed, unfortunately. So maybe in the future that will get fixed. But please note, running 1+2, only +4, so EI down +2 is also naturally devalued. Although, unfortunately, it's probably going to be one of the best options you can still go for. Other than that, we have back 2 is now significantly stronger. And by significantly stronger, I mean it's no longer complete dog shit of a move. It's now somewhat useful. It's faster, bigger hitbox, so on and so forth. Also, it's weird they talk about the Perfumer transition again. And then system-wide adjustment, back 1+2 is no longer a heat engager. Instead, he has a new move, EI down 1, that is a pretty good move. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Okay, biggest change, of course, back 1+2 is no longer a heat engager. It should be noted that back 1+2 by itself still remains the old bad slower frame property of 19. I made a video about up forward 2 tech, and then this being 15 could be used for tech, but fortunately they did not speed it up, so this is still your I-19 power crush option. Running 1+2, as talked about, brand new attack, +4 into EI stance. What is nice is that on counter hit, it's actually it's +15. So from +15, keep in mind, this isn't like a clean +15, so like EI1 is not actually a combo. It's a +15G, but at this frame data, literally every single button you're going to hit is going to win regardless what the opponent does. So for instance, an option like EI2 on 16, EI 1+2 on 20 cannot be duck jabbed, and just to prove that, let's go ahead and turn on duck jab. And I think I have to do 2 hits technically, so let's do this. Okay, never mind. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Duck jab is, it takes 4 frames to crush, so plus 15 into a 20 can be duck jab. My apology. Literally everything else is going to win this spot, though, and grant us the counter hit. So option like EI2 on 16, guaranteed up 1+2 afterwards. You know, so on and so forth. Forward 1+2, both equally doing the same amount of damage nowadays. Sorry, yeah, so you can duck jab that. We will talk about things you can't duck jab shortly, though. But yeah, my apologies regarding that. Okay, so what do we have here? Oh yeah, as shown, EI down 1, brand new move on block. It's -2. It does track to Victor's right off of EI stance, but doesn't actually track to his left. So we'll go ahead, we'll just have him sidewalk right. We'll do like EI 1 to EI down 1. And sorry, he needs to move after the first hit. Okay, so sorry. To your left, their right, it doesn't track, although it does track the other way. Please note that that is basically Victor's weak side is his left anyway, so most people are stepping to the left. So that unfortunately doesn't supplement his EI stance. The nice thing, though, as shown, is that, yeah, -2 on block. From -2, you can go for like a turn steal like down like 4, down like 3, instant shoe shine option, so on and so forth. Other than that, you can just take the 2. Also, as shown, EI down 1 is a heat engager, and more importantly, it's also heat dash cancel for full launcher. So I don't know what combo you want to go for. Wall stand 2 structure, down like 1/1 structure, so on and so forth. The world is your oyster. One other last thing of note. Let's see, how would I go back into EI's stance? Post knockdown. I guess I could do. Oh, okay. We'll show this. How about this? Yeah. So that's something brand new we'll talk about shortly. So this does cause steel pedal effect. So if you're able to enter into EI at the end of your combo, EI down 1 will cause a steel pedal. Natural hit wall splat, like I said, -2 on block. It will be a little bit more important shortly, but EI down 1, it's nice to have it. If you need a ground hitting option, you can either choose between EI 2, which is faster, or EI down 1. Both of them are equally safe. It's just that EI down 1, being a brand new move, is safer. Also, it has a large, very high vertical hitbox. I'm not going to be able to show that, but it also is on the table there as well. Okay, full crouch down 1+2. Instead of taking just a +0, you can now transition into EI stance, or sorry, into Perfumer stance for +6. From +6, you don't have really great options. Basically, you're realistically going to go for something like Perfumer 2, which is a safe on block I-12 option. Otherwise, you can take your plus frames and go for a slower low like EI 1. If you anticipate them trying to sidestep at -6, you can go for Perfumer 4 on 18. Just keep in mind that is a high option, and also can be duck jabbed and so on and so forth. It can be challenged, so it's a little bit on the slower end. So you probably want to go for something like EI 2, either root option into Perfumer, or sorry, EI, or full root 1+2, or high option fishing for the counter hit on the third hit, of course, to try to interrupt your opponent. Oh, one other thing of note, just because you transition into Perfumer stance, you are still equally launch punishable. So on block, -23, Perfumer entrance, -17, but you're stuck in stance, and again, the fastest thing from stance is 12 frames, so you're still equally launch punishable. Now, are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. So I'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so as mentioned, 112. Unfortunately, 112 lost a lot of damage. This used to do, and let me turn this off. Actually, I'm gonna leave. Well, I don't have to leave it on. I take that back. So this used to do 27 damage, if I remember correctly. Now it deals 22. The benefit, though, instead of going for your standard +3 option, from there, that option like down forward 1, lose the backdash, down for 4, lose the backdash, so on and so forth. We can now transition into Perfumer stance by tapping forward. So now this is a big deal, because now at +7, Perfumer 1, or Perfumer 2, sorry, is a free attempt. Perfumer 1 cannot be hop kicked. And also one of the really interesting ones, is actually, because it's +7 in back 2, now is I-10. We can actually technically use that as a trap. So we'll do 1-1-2 Perfumer, and then it'll cancel with back 2 because they can't duck jab it. So keep in mind, at +7, they cannot duck jab a I-10 move because, again, crouch state on 4. Video number 3, top right corner for that. I'm sure by now you guys know that. But yeah, technically this is a trap. Oh, hey, they want to disrespect you at the wall? I'm sorry. And wall splat, you know, so on and so forth. I don't think there's going to be very much practical use to that. What's funny is, like, this is the only thing of note for this +7 or greater breakpoint. It's kind of gimmicks, but I can see someone killing another person in game with that and being like, yeah, I got you, bro. Like, shit, you got me, okay. And obviously, there's nothing faster. I think this is a projectile, so you can't even properly parry it either. So you just have to hold that. It's probably better in the long run to force some sort of Perfumer 2 meta, because again, they still can't beat it. Perfumer 2-2, full root, 2-2, 1+2. But still, at least you have some sort of gimmick there going for you. Okay, so as I was kind of mentioning earlier, I was kind of disingenuous when it comes to an option like Perfumer. So, for instance, on our Shoe Shine option, right? Hey, we're -17, and our fastest option is 2, right? Yes and no. No, because now off our Perfumer, you can transition into Heat Burst and Heat Smash. So technically, our -17 into 6 frame means there's a 23 frame window instead of a 31 frame window. So that's, like I said, there's still launch punishable, but at least you have something out of Perfumer. There's a few options where you want to transition to Perfumer, like for instance, down back 1-1 can get you killed because, like, you're stuck in stance, right? But at least now you can go for the meter pop. The issue there, though, as shown, is because we're still -5. If he goes for 10 frame, whether it be duck jab or stand jab, we lose. If he goes for like a 13 frame, we win. Apart from that, if you're already in defensive heat mode, Perfumer entrance can now transition into the Heat Smash, which is now -14. So that's one other thing of note. There probably are going to be some like combo structures later on that are found where you launch the opponent and then go for something like a up forward 1-1 transition for Perfumer stance, and then like meter pop off your Perfumer entrance, like down like 1-1 again, Perfumer option. These are like far in the future because right now it looks like potential's not the best for Victor. I mean, he still is pretty optimized and like the end of Season 1 world with the wall stand 2 structures. But maybe in the future, like I said, we'll find some like cute Perfumer entrances and meter pops, stuff like that. I guess if you're by the wall and then you're too close for you and you don't want to necessarily go for like wall splat 2-2 1+2 for ground spike, right? Because otherwise they aren't going to recover in time. I guess you could go for some sort of okay, that's not even the best example. You could meter pop in that position, but still. I'm sure something will be found. For now, it's probably just the safest way to cancel Perfumer is by popping meter right after. That way you're only -11 instead of -15, basically. Okay, back 2 now has a bigger hitbox. It is still a high, so that's a really key thing here. Although it's now I-10 instead of I-12. That's a massive, massive difference. Now, the downside to it that they didn't mention here. So the problem with back 2, unfortunately, is that instead of it being plus... I take it back. No, it is 14. Yeah, my bad. My bad. I'm thinking of something else. We'll catch up to that later. So yeah, plus 14, 441, sorry, 441, which is scaled on 70% or 90%. Sorry, they did fix that. That was luckily a buff from like V105 or something. So it's 90 scaling instead of 70 scaling. Also, back to, as of that patch, is 5 points damage as well. So at least it does something. And then, of course, 441, or if you don't want to go for that, you want to go like EI stance entrance, you can go for 442 into EI instead. But that's nice, yeah. Again, I-10 versus I-12 is a big difference for trapping opponents. I guess in theory, an option like down for 1-1 is also +7. So if they try to duck jab, yeah, we're so far away. Like, okay, we're by the wall, I guess. Duck jab this, bitch. All right, sort of thing. I don't know, man. My turn. Okay. Cool, you have two options to trap now with back two. Sure. Okay, well, where are we at? EI 1+2. Okay, EI 1+2 is now a homing attack. Nice change. Same thing, EI 1+2 is also homing attack. Please note that even though it's a homing, it's still a high. So technically, the sidestep left or sidestep right into duck timing will still win against it. So it's a nice quality of life buff because I'm sure you've seen it where people can like full walk around you during your EI stance and you literally can't hit them because you can't attack backwards. So, okay, nice quality of life, but yeah, it's good, but it's still kind of rough compared to a lot of other stance characters. They have now homing mids that are like safe on block or plus frames and shit. Okay, this is a nice change. Down 4 is now, instead of being -14, it's now -13. So for instance, certain matchups like Jhin, Raven, stuff like that, you'd have to use a tool like down 3, which is safer on block. But down 4 is like the big daddy option, right? So now that it's -13, it's better because that allows you to better use your down 4 I-16 low option for Victor. You know, top right corner, how to use Victor lows. Still applicable. Also on natural hit, and damn, I don't really want to turn this off. Jocelyn Namco, by the way. It's now better frames as well. So instead of being -3 on hit, it's now -2. So really good change overall. Really, really, really well needed change that Victor definitely needed there for sure. Okay, yeah, this is a big one. Up forward 4, his basically hop kick that actually has pretty good range. Used to be like Kazumi's hop kick where it would take him excess amount of frames to get off the floor. If you notice, this is I-15. So the old frame data was airborne from frame 14. So until literally basically the last frame, you could still get duck jab. No longer. Keep in mind that up forward 4 is still -19 on block. So this is just a good improvement for those kind of situations. Oh, hey, you want to disrespect me? I know you're going to go to it, and I don't want to use an option like Expulsion to get above you or Excelsior. I can now use Hop Kick to read on my slight plus frames. There were a lot of situations like post down forward 1, for instance, where even at plus frames, you couldn't effectively use the slight plus advantage. Now you can without having to worry about it. Rather than hard committing to an option like up forward 3 on 13, for instance, we now have access to up forward 4 instead to better call them out. So that's a very, very well needed change. Again, shout out to Namco for making that change. Okay, as already shown, the Heat Smash is now -14. Victor was one of the last characters with a launch punishable variation on his low. Well needed change. Thank God it was finally made, especially because now you can perform it out of Perfumer to have better mix-up potential as well is super nice. So that's a wonderful, wonderful change. Okay, speaking of heat mode changes, they really, really want you to use down back 1+2 now. So instead of being +6 into our stance, where again we are forced into an EI1 situation, we can now use our +9 and opt to go for an option like EI2 to challenge at plus frames instead, and then win on trade in that position. So same thing, well needed buff, because now that, like for instance, EI down 2 is worse on block, like frame data, or sorry, chip data wise, he needs something to better apply pressure with his frame data or with his heat mode, and down back 1+2 definitely fits that bill. Again, that +9 situation, we can mash out anything. Actually, I guess technically, no, +9, no, I don't think I'm 19. We can basically mash any input, and we're going to win apart from EI 1+2 sort of thing. Okay, EI3, nice buff as well. EI3 is now -13 on block rather than -14. So a lot of times, for instance, you represent the shoot and then transition into that option. They can still duck jab, I suppose. But EI3 being safer on block. Also, I believe it still causes wall splats. Let's go ahead and confirm that. Yeah, so we still get a wall splat afterwards as well. So nice quality of life buff to EI3, being safer against certain characters. Speaking of speed improvements, Wall stand 3 too. Used to be 15. Now it's 14 instead. Now it's better used as a punisher, right? Being a 14 frame option. Honestly, up forward 1-1 off FC is probably better, but I guess the damage potential here is better. Now, does this properly splat? I don't remember. Yeah, it doesn't even splat. So it's just a knockdown. So maybe it's going to be more suited for like mid-combo. Maybe there's some sort of line where, this is just speculation, maybe like Perfumer 1. Yeah, see, like that's completely going to miss. So maybe there's some juice in the combos that can be found, but it's just a speed change, although up forward 1-1 is probably the best thing to use on 13, especially now that it can transition into stance. And did I skip that? Oh, I must have. I skipped it. My bad. Yeah. So this is a huge buff. So now instead of taking our knockdown plus 15, we can transition to Perfumer and get a knockdown plus 19 instead. What's important to note is that the plus 19 is G. So like for instance, our Perfumer 3 on 15 is not guaranteed. But regardless of what we do in this position, we are going to win, including Perfumer 4. So let's go ahead and prove that. So at plus 19. Oh yeah, the bot kind of freaks out with these type of hits. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do. I think even if I'm supposed to put on 2, it's too slow. Yeah, that's a frame trap though, right? We're plus 19. Oh, I take it back. No, it isn't a frame trap. Okay, yeah, my bad. Miscalculation for sure. But yeah, now plus 19. That allows for us to go for an option like Perfumer 1 on 19, which means it cannot be low period at plus 19. The big one that probably is going to be the meta, though, for sure, is going to be this. So what's interesting about the plus 19 in our transition into Perfumer is that we are forcing a mix-up between Perfumer 1, which, again, cannot be low period, and it's minus 12 on block, and Perfumer up forward 1 plus 2. So regardless of what they do, there's simply not enough frames to do anything against Perfumer 1 plus 2. So this is a true frame trap regardless. Now against Jin, he can parry it, but because it's a weapon-based attack, no one else can do anything about it apart from Leroy. So just Jin and Leroy can parry it, but literally every other character in the game can't do anything against it. So you might think to yourself, okay, well, if we're going to guard the mix-up, then what does that entail, right? And this is what it entails. Perfumer 1 plus 2 is plus 6. And that's a buff that occurred, I think, in same thing, V105, maybe V106. So this is basically a free attempt. And then on top of it, well, actually, this is not even the best example. So that's going to wall splat regardless. So let me go ahead and put him on stand and approach. And then what we're going to do here, we'll have him try to sidewalk out. Yeah, knockdown state. And then let's go a little bit further. Maybe there's like a sweet zone. Yeah, there you go. He's forced to hold incoming, which means if he does anything other than defends, not Jin or Leroy again. If they do anything other than defend, it's a plus 6 or natural hit knockdown and or wall splat launcher. So up forward 1-1, you basically should always transition into stance now. And then kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier, even on transition, now we can pop meters, so you can even go against that too. If you don't want to worry about weird wall splats or something, you can now cancel Perfumer. So you're not even like really risking much of anything. Then, post option, Perfumer, we'll do like 4-4-2, 1-4-4-2 into our EI mix-up, where we can now represent EI down 1, which again is your brand new steel pedal effect, which hits grounded, or EI down 2, for instance, continue pressure at the wall. I'm not going to get into the theory here, but yeah, find your favorite Victor content creator for that type of mix-up theory. But yeah, it's fairly in-depth. That's all you have to know. Okay, where are we at? Wall stand 3. Okay, yeah, 2-2. This is a nice little quality of life change. So 2-2 by itself, you can hit confirm the third hit. And obviously, if you misconfirm it, they can duck the third hit. But the reason being is that 2-2 had a string penalty on it, where he was minus 12. And basically, even if the opponent was a little bit late with their 10 frame, they would still 10 frame punish you. Now, being exactly -10, they have to either commit to the punish right away, they have no time to think, or duck. There's no more slight fuzzy timing on incoming. They have to cast correctly or go for an option like duck jab on 10 frame, of course, sort of thing, to not have to guess. But yeah, that's really nice, especially for players who do like to hit confirm 2-2, simply because, yeah, it has pretty good range. So that's the nice quality of life buff as well, for them kind of lowering the string penalty on an option like 2-2. Okay, forward on +2, while it did lose some damage, and that's the only nerf they're talking about, everything else on it is significantly better. So instead of -9 on block, we're now +3. So same idea, up forward 1 options, down forward 1 poking, now, you know, down back 4 if you want to try to beat out counter pressure that's high, slower options. Same thing we haven't talked about yet, same thing, down back 3, turn steel back. What's nice about down back 3, we'll get to it, this is a natural hit launcher rather than a counter hit launcher, so whereas a move like down back 4 requires counter hit on 20, down back 3 just requires them to commit to any high, and you'll launch them afterwards. But now at +3, especially by the wall, way scarier to deal with. You know, your 12 throws, up forward 1-1 option challenging through, which then establishes up forward 1-1 canceling metas, where we can re-enter the stance, homing pressure +3s, you know, +3s for days, standard Victor pressure meta afterwards. But yeah, the damage has been reduced. That's the only kind of downside, but the range is still super, super good. Don't deny it. And then I believe on heat dash cancel, it's still a launcher as well. Yeah, still full launcher, so that's a good one. And then, yeah, as we just talked about, down back 3 no longer requires counter hit. This is just a natural hit spin launcher. So usually I just do like the old school Perfumer 1 line, and then if you don't want to pop meter, 1-2 off the eye. But yeah, you can do anything you want. You can even go for, like, you know, more modern day dash up wall stand 3 or wall stand 2 structures, which I'm dropping, of course, so on and so forth, if that's more your fancy. Yeah, that's nice. The only difference now, though, is that this is -11, and also, more importantly, the pushback on it is gone. So instead of you naturally spacing out to your preferred range of range 1.5, where you can backdash and then bait out incoming, you're now just in their shit. So you're equally -10, 11. Very reminiscent of, what's he called? Raven forward 4, although Raven forward 4 on 15 is a Punisher, and this is more of a churn steel launcher instead. I'm a fan of the change. It's nice to have a natural hit variation on it, because oftentimes people will duck Demic 3, think you can go for Demic 4 anyway. So risk versus reward, it's basically equivalent to a Demic 3, but now with better properties on natural hit, and I will gladly take that. Okay, so instead of back 2 on counter hit, what I was thinking of is back 4. So back 4, instead of requiring counter hit to be +14, it's now always +13 into... +13, so that means forward 4-1 is no longer guaranteed. Instead, you have to go for up forward 1-1. And the nice thing from up forward 1-1, again, we can transition into Perfumer for +19 pressure. And then, hey, like this whole sequence, right? 1+2. Oh! I should also kind of, you know, I said I didn't want to get into like heavy hardcore theory here, but you should also note that, like usual, you can cancel Perfumer stance by tapping down forward into FC. Now, if you tap down forward and hold FC, you're left into FC. And then from FC, you can go for Shoe Shine, Wall Stand 1+2, or Wall Stand 1+2, both of them equally Perfumer re-entrances. So, like, for instance, a common pressure line post might be cancel, full crouch pressure, and then continue our Perfumer dance. And hey, maybe you don't want to go into Perfumer, maybe you want to do like EI dropping, you know, sort of thing. But hey, I don't know, I don't fucking know, whatever you want to do. Basically, the ability to dance between stances is going to be like really, really huge part of your mental and metagaming and stuff like that. And then obviously, Wall Stand 1+2 safe on block. On top of that, even though I don't know if we talked about it yet, it did get nerf on the damage. But yeah, the world is your oyster with Perfumer dancing now, especially considering the fact that similar to back 4, EI4 has the same property. So let's say we go for like our back 4 confirm, a forward 1-1 transition, Perfumer 4, like the whole combo situation restarts itself, right? And then let me put off block all. Let's say this guy it holds back instead of up. And then Perfumer 4. And hey, there we go again, hit confirm. Back into the stance. Yeah, so on and so forth. I don't know. It's kind of cool to be honest, but is it enough? I don't know, unfortunately. But yeah, so doesn't require counter hit. Now trip, counter hit, it's all the same shit. Perfumer 4 and back 4, both plus 13. Okay, speaking of moves that got, I wouldn't say significant nerf, but this honestly is a pretty big one. 1+2 is still +2, but on block, it's now -9. What's important, kind of similar to down back 3, where I talked about it kind of pushes them to like, it used to be like 1.5. Previously, when you perform 1+2, even though it was -8, it would push them back to a range where if they try to overcommit, same thing, backdash with confirm. But now after 1+2, they're left, right, and use. So basically, rather than having good space control with a counter hit launcher, now we have to deal with the fact that it's still a counter launcher, but if they block it, we have to take incoming. So obviously at -9, there's nothing we can do. There's no way to evade in this position. Even though orbital is better, or sorry, hop kick is better, it's not enough. So basically 1+2, your turn is over on block. There's no space control possible. Similar to down by 3, that is a relic of the past, unfortunately. So that's a big nerf. It's not a huge one, but it does force your opponent, force you to deal with your opponent's pressure more on block. Okay, up 1+2 has a damage nerf. What's important to note is that up 1+2 and forward 1+2 have equally been nerfed. So maybe it's better. This is not the combo I want to do. I'll do like Perfumer 3. Like I want to do an easy combo. Let me just meter pop here. We will do 3. So up 1+2, 47 damage. We'll do the same combo. Meter pop, forward 1+2, both 47 damage. The only real difference between the two of them, keep in mind, Excelsior does cost meters, so if you do have a little bit of meter left, it's going to cost you the rest of it. And then other than that, up 1+2 does recover a little bit faster than forward 1+2 on grounded state. So even though the damage is equal, where possible, you should be using up 1+2 instead. Yeah, interesting nerf. Down forward 3+4 did get a damage reduction. It now only deals 28. Yeah, I've noticed this nerf with a couple of characters, most recently Clive. Actually, Raven also lost down back 2-1-2, doing more damage. But yeah, it's just here to nerf the damage. Like for instance, jab, downward option. Okay. Yeah. So maybe Namco wants people to use that structure more often than to go for the shoulder structure. It also could be a, what's the word I'm looking for? A way to indirectly nerf, like reset, like post EI option to nerf the shoulder. Maybe that's the idea, to reduce that damage, although Jin's able to escape it now. Maybe that's a universal change. But there were situations where the shoulder was decently good for hitting low slump and hitting wake up position, stuff like that. So maybe that's also part of it. My guess, it's probably just a way to curtail Victor's really strong wall damage when you combine it with his carry and so on and so forth. So that's probably the idea from Namco. Damic 4 has shorter reach. Okay, yeah. So like in the previous game, I talked about this in the low video. I'm not going to relink that, of course. But yeah, the lows on Victor used to be really, really far hitting. So what they did is they just nerfed Damic 4 to not be as far hitting. It's still, well, okay, maybe it's not as good as I had thought. Like here would hit. Yeah, I don't remember the exact range. You can look at the gauge in my video. But this feels about the same. It might be just a little bit worse. It really doesn't matter because I think it still is counter hit on tip. So yeah, end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. It is just a nerf in general. If I was to take a guess, probably the Damic 4 nerf is more of a anti-sidestep nerf. Maybe the hitbox in general being shorter means it's worse on as an anti-sidestep tool. Just kind of speculating. I don't know for a fact. Okay, wall stand 1+2. This is a pretty big nerf simply because the damage potential on it's heavily reduced. It's doing 5 less points of damage. Considering this is his I-13, that's a safe one, rather than up forward 1-1, which is minus 14 on block. Maybe they want people to start using up forward 1-1, transition into Perfumer, is probably what Namco wants people to do, rather than go for a simple wall stand 1+2 instead, which is safe on block. So that's damage nerf, trying to maybe poke people to move that direction. Okay, as talked about, EI down 2 now deals less damage on block. Get out of here, just like, dude. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in running stance. My bad. Let's do like down +2. The down 2s. Less chip damage on block. Although I guess it's hard to see. Let me run that back. I gotta wait for him to stand up into it. Oh yeah, that's way less damage. Wow, that's significant. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think most people would tend to agree that like EI down 2 is like the scariest part of Victor, and it doesn't really matter because like nowadays there was a lot of ways to get around it, like towards the end of season 1. But now Namco is kind of putting the nail in the coffin, it seems, by purposely nerfing down 2 off EI stance. So yeah, that's a significant nerf. Okay, EI2, yeah, is now just less safe on block. Kind of similar to 1+2. The big difference, though, of course, is that EI2 on counter hit doesn't actually do like anything noteworthy compared to 1+2. It just causes a knockdown state. So EI2, like 4+2, or 1+2 by itself. So yeah, still just a knockdown, but now it's -9 rather than -7. So not a huge nerf, but still a nerf nonetheless. Again, similar to 1+2, your churn is over afterwards. And then finally, Perfumer 1 does less damage. That makes sense, all things considered, seeing as how, you know, it's only -12 on block, and then furthermore, +6, or sorry, okay, +4. It makes sense that they're nerfing Perfumer 1, especially when you consider the fact like they want you to go into Perfumer more often. And same thing, +19, the can't hold period. They had to kind of tone it down a little bit. One thing of note with Perfumer 1, on counter hit, it gives you kind of the stagger animation, but equally G state, so they can still guard post. You just get a mix-up afterwards. And now I guess supposedly, or evidently, you know, now that an option like Shoe Shine with Perfumer is on the table, there's more things for your opponent to think about. So maybe it's a combination of all the things together is the idea. I guess one thing of note is that, yeah, I guess now that Perfumer 1 is weaker, this technically, this Perfumer line where you transition post knockdown would be weaker, probably 1 point less damage. So maybe people don't want to use that going forward. I don't know. Just something to think about. Okay, that's it for Victor. If I made a mistake, please let me know the time code to set mistake. As usual, I'll give a rating. I would say buffed. There are some nice quality of life changes and better pressure options. I'm not saying the light immediately on Victor, but I can see a world where the stance dancing is just so freaking annoying to deal with that it just mentally, like, you know, overloads the mental stack, and your opponent kind of falters from that. He's really still missing like the really scary stuff, kind of like Dragunov is missing. Stance, mid, homing, plus frame options that like so many other characters have nowadays. Like for instance, if he was a different character, like up 4-2 would probably be buffed. Back 4 would probably still retain +14 rather than +13. That way it can be used at the wall or heat engage or stuff like that, open field. But overall, I still think he's buffed. I would probably give him, I think I'm gonna give him 1 arrow up. I'm leaning a little bit more towards half an arrow because some of the things he is now missing, and also the fact that a lot of characters are buffed relative to him, I'd probably maybe more likely give him a half arrow. But overall, I think 1 arrow is probably fair. So I'll give him 1 arrow up, definitely buffed character. Although it's maybe not enough to keep him in contention for the possibility of like top. I don't want to say top 10. He definitely top 10, top 15, maybe top 20. So, okay. Balance, questions, concerns, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Feel free to hit me up. Apart from that, I'll see you guys next video. Later on.